Jake, welcome, mate.
Ray, thanks for having me. I think I was telling you earlier, I've done a few of these podcasts. Nothing more exciting than have a chat. This is very good. Or talk to me, should I say? Very
Well,
good.
mate, I'm so excited to have you on Talk to Me, man. I wanted to save you because I was like, this is the one, you know what I mean? This is the one where I know I've made it. But you were just so keen. I was like, you know what? Stuff this lockdown. Let's do it via Zoom.
I like it, bro. It is what it is. You got to pivot with the situation you're in. So, mate, I'm glad to be with you.
Well, thanks for coming on. And mate, I had to represent, had to get the
I love it.
had to get the advisory corp shirt on.
Mate, if you're looking for a job, I'm ready to hire you just based on the fact of how good you look in that in that shirt. So forget about accounting. I'm happy to have you at reception, just sitting there in your advisory corp shirt.
Mate, the sad thing is we got that on tape, so you have to stick with it.
Done.
Well, ladies and gents, welcome to Talk to Me, the show where I get my friends to talk to me. Today, I have Jacob Fahmy. He is one of the coolest guys I know. He's one of the smartest guys I know, to be completely honest. And that's why I was so excited to have him on this, because he has a bit of a story, Jake. You've got a bit of a story, mate. And
I do.
I'm keen to get into it.
Looking forward to it, bro.
So why don't you introduce yourself to the people? What do you do? Who are you? What are you about, bro?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my name is Jacob. I'm a chartered accountant, run my own practice. Been doing that for like maybe my own practice for about a year and a half, 2 years now, and then, yeah, pretty much my life revolves around three things: accounting, my family, and God. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I'm trying to think of some fun facts about me. I might throw a fun fact in there for you. A fun fact about me is that I picked my profession when I was in year 3. So year 3 is when I decided to become an accountant. Thereabouts, I think. So
how do you do that?
Yeah, look, it's not. I don't know too many kids that have decided, I want to be an accountant when I grow up. But
I was about to say that's probably the most boring there is.
It didn't seem like that at the time. And when you're Egyptian, you really have 3 options. 3 to 4 options, really. Accounting, being a muhasib, being a doctor, or being a lawyer or a pharmacist or something along those lines. And I was really good at maths. I did a maths competition in year 3, and I got a HD at the time, which was like, I think I've got it somewhere around there. Yeah, it's actually stuck just on there. I kept it anyway. And so I figured I was good at maths, and then I got into business. I've always loved business, just when I was a kid. But then in year 9, I picked business studies as an elective. Mm-hmm. Our teacher, the poor thing, bro. We had a very rowdy class. It was horrendous. So she used to just play episodes of The Apprentice, and Donald Trump was that was the closest thing we got to learning about business, watching The Apprentice. Donald Trump was The Apprentice at the time. I've read his book, The Art of the Deal, which is somewhere up there as well. And I figured, what's something business and numbers? Like, if business and numbers had a baby, I think accounting would be the child. So that was sort of how I picked, to be an accountant. So all from year 3 is when I sparked my interest.
Yes. So your whole accounting firm right now is based off a year 3 test.
A year 3 test, bro. That changed my life. It was at University of New. Actually, you know what, bro? I'm gonna get it for you.
Go get it. This is crazy. I've never seen someone choose something off a year 3 test.
I don't know if you can see this.
No, you've lost focus at the moment for some reason, bro. Your whole camera's gone a little bit.
Mate, let's try to get back in here. No, okay, it'll pick up. I think this is the way to do it. So there you go.
We're getting there. So this is how we do things on Talk to Me, ladies and gents. We figure it out on the go.
This is it. The best advice I ever got from someone you actually know was, Jacob, figure it out. So there we go. We figured it out. There we go. We're back. I'm not going to show you again, but that's sneak peek. That's the certificate, because we don't want to stuff that up again. So yeah, this certificate changed my life.
Is that how you advertise yourself to clients? You say, listen, you can trust me because I got a year 3 certificate.
That's pretty much it. There's CA certificates out there. They mean nothing. I should really post that.
There you go. That's it. Now I trust you. Now I trust you. Well, ladies and gents, the reason I wanted to talk to Jake is because he's actually my accountant. You know, the cool thing about this is these are people that I actually use. These are people I trust. These are people in the game itself. How did you get into it, Jake? So, okay, you make that decision in year 3, but does that stay your decision all through high school? Do you keep on that path, or do you make some changes along the way?
To be honest, I'm the kind of guy who I think once I set my mind to something, it's always inevitable. I'm just going to go after it. And so, yeah, year 3, whatever, I got good at maths, was always into maths, I'm not creative as much. I've got the other side of the brain, the more logical side of the brain, I guess. And then I've always set goal, like, bro, I wanted to get into a certain uni doing the course I wanted to do. So I ticked that off the list. And then I wanted to, get my CA. So I went and ticked that off the list. And it's always just been about, I've never sort of strayed. It's always been set a goal. This is what you want and go after it. And I'm a big believer in, it's not about just next 1 move, next 2 moves. It's 5 moves down the track. Like what pieces do I have to move to get to my, 5, 10, 15 year goal? It's hard to predict out that long and it's a bit difficult and murky, but as long as you have a general idea of where you're going. And so I knew where I was going. And so I sort of just kicked it off. So yeah, I think that hopefully answers your question a little bit there.
No, but I think that's the way that a lot of people should be moving in general. I mean, you have your small little achievements and your little goals, but they should always be leading towards a big one.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
And
exactly
I think that makes that big goal more achievable and it makes it less scary.
100%. 100%.
I saw you put up something on Instagram last week through the Advisory Corp page, and it said something along the lines of, don't be scared to dream big. If you want to get that million, get that million.
100%. 100%.
That is such a, I guess, big ask. Or it's if you said that to someone, I'm planning on getting $1 million, like they'd be sort of stepping back and think, okay, what's wrong with you? But you're right. It's about setting those massive goals. It's about trying to do everything you can to achieve it.
100%. And bro, that to everyone, that means something different, right? Like the reason I talk about financial goals is that by nature, it's what I do. And it hurts me when people, sometimes when I have a meeting with someone, I always go through, what are you doing now and where do you want to be? And they get nervous, they get shy about telling me where they want to be. But I've seen it all. Like I've worked in the mid-tiers, the corporates, I've seen some big numbers, I've seen some small numbers, and I've seen everything in between. So I'm very normal about just share, what are your big goals? Like no one asks that enough. Like forget about what's in the realm of, what you consider realistic. We underestimate what we can do in 10 years, but we overestimate what we can do in 1 year. So it's like, give me the big picture. Where do you want to be? Let's get steps in. Let's put some things in order to sort of get there, regardless if it's financial, if it's, I want to get married within a 10-year, time frame, whether it's, I want to have a ministry within, X amount of years, or just something like that. Just set a big, audacious goal that you're sort of heading towards and build your path there, regardless of what aspect of your life it's in. I'm a big believer in that, for sure.
I think you're right, because I found myself doing it recently. I think a lot in business terms now. And I don't even run a business. In every aspect of my life, whether it be relational, ministry-wise, or personal, or in work, I'm thinking business-wise. Like a business would do this, so I should be doing this, if that makes sense. I think a lot of those mindsets and a lot of those goals do translate into other parts of life.
Absolutely. And even like, whether it's, I want to lose weight, I want to attend church more, I want to read my Bible more. For example, at Elevate last year, I remember I gave Audible a plug.
Yes, you did.
Do you remember that? I do. I said, guys, if you get Audible, I didn't know you could get the Bible app through its own app, but I said on Audible, it's only X amount of hours. And I'm always thinking about, look, if it's X amount of hours and I do X amount per day, it means within X amount of time, I can hit that. And so, bro, I read/listened to the whole New Testament in like the first quarter of this calendar year, right? I had never really done that before. I think we all have heard most of the Bible by way of chunks, sermons, sort of everything in between.
Purposefully do that is a
exactly. But I'd never considered it always seems like such a big task, like, oh, it's so long and whatever. But when you set it, okay, I want to do this, and I broke it down, and I listen to X amount per day, and then you start getting into the habit, you start getting addicted to the, I need to read, I haven't, and so like I said, regardless of what aspect of life it's in, set your major goal and work backwards and backtrack. They say a chess master knows their next, I think it's 20 or 50 moves. And anything, I've read a book up there that's called Your Next 5 Moves. And that's what's got me thinking about, always just planning, setting big goals, backtracking, and then meeting those along the way. I think that's the way that I tick. That's the way I think, in general, I think that's what works for me. So, yeah.
100%. No, what's your Audible book right now?
The current one I'm reading, there's 2. I go through. I usually multitask, which I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. But there's 2. One is about making decisions. I downloaded it today. I can't remember what the book is called, but it's something about making decisions. The other one is Cash Flow Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. Never been a fan of Robert Kiyosaki, but Bashara actually recommended me that book, so I've decided to read a little bit of it. The other one that I've sort of almost finished is called Skin in the Game. And that's been really good because it's made me think about when someone gives you advice, right? You always have to think about, well, what are their incentives to, is that just, I hate advice that's just, and it doesn't affect me and it just affects you. And it's easy, that's cheap advice to give. But if someone's giving you advice and they have a vested interest, their skin in the game. That's more tangible, more operable. So that's what that book was about. So yeah, a few there. The Bible's always in there, so there's always some sort of scripture in the mix. But yeah, it's currently what.
And then you've got your random weekly have a chat with Ray instead.
That's absolutely Tuesday, Wednesday. That's where I'm hooked, mate. That's always on the cards.
No, I'm currently just started how to win friends and influence people.
Oh, I have recommended this book to everyone. Mina read that actually about 6 months ago. Top book,
mate. I'm only about 3 minutes in, and I'm already seeing the benefit.
Once you've read that, Dale Carnegie, great author. There's another book he wrote. It's lesser known, but it's just as good. How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And he quotes a lot of scripture in that book as well. So great. Once you've done that, get on to the next one. And it's so much scripture in there. It's amazing. You'll love it. Yeah.
Well, Amazon, if you're listening to this,
honestly,
I'm happy to get a sponsorship out of that 5 minutes there.
That's it. So if you see an Amazon ad come up in your YouTube, this is us right here.
This is us. Yeah. Shoot us some of that.
I love it.
But let's backtrack one sec. Something that I don't think a lot of people understand, and something I still haven't clarified. What's the difference between an accountant and a chartered accountant?
Yeah. So accountant technically means, you finished a uni degree in accounting, and I assume you work in accounting. The Institute of Chartered Accountants is the leading industry body that people take membership in, and it's just it's an industry body that recognizes a high quality of professionals. So, for example, to become a chartered accountant, you need to have had 2 to 3 years experience. They change it. I don't know what it is. But it was about 2 to 3 years experience. You also need to finish a 2-year course. And then you also have to maintain professional development every year. So it's just, it's a way of saying, it's the first grade of NRL, for example. It's the folks who have decided, I want to take my accounting career to the next level. And sort of they're the governing body on how you would do that. So that's what a chartered accountant is, yeah.
Okay. And one thing I actually love about Advisory Corp is how dedicated you guys are to small business.
Yeah, for sure.
Growing people, growing industry, growing. Like, I
100%.
think that's probably the way I've always described you, is you guys help people grow.
100%.
To people, the accountant is the guy you see in June, July, August, they get your tax return done. What's the difference? What's the difference between what people think an accountant is and what you guys actually do?
For sure. So for an individual, like an accountant is that sort of once a year person where, it's a transactional type service. But for a business or for someone who's, for example, like a rental property or a business schedule on it, like a sole trader, for example, it's very wise to not wait until the end of the year to backtrack and look at the previous financial year. So we move from more a transactional relationship, like a once-off thing, to a more, transformative relationship, and to have that relationship often throughout the year. The benefits that gives you is that when you're making a big decision or as you operate your business, you're going to need some accounting or tax advice along the way. For example, I'm buying a car, I'm buying a house, I'm buying a new piece of machinery, I'm hiring staff. There's going to be things that you're going to do throughout the year that you want to be able to run past an accountant just to make sure you're all square from a tax and accounting perspective. And so that's sort of what we really hone in on. I came up through the corporate world where, it wasn't as small business focused. It was a lot more big firm, big clients and old money that's just sort of being shuffled around. But I'm in it. The reason I became an accountant is for people like you and I, for people in our generation, young, upcoming, want to start a business, want to make something of themselves and want to provide for their family. And I believe small business provides opportunities for families, for communities, and it's the cornerstone of one of the cornerstones of our society. So that's why we're so involved with small businesses, and that's why I love doing what I do. I love what I do because of my clients. Tax is a dry, tedious, topic, but I do it for the love of my clients and seeing them grow and seeing them establish the fabric of our community. Yeah.
And that term, that phrase, small business is the cornerstone of a society.
100%.
Why do you believe that to be the case? Why do you believe that to be true, especially in Sydney, Australia?
Yeah, for sure. So there's 2 or 3 things really. Number one, they're the employers. One, I can't remember what the statistic is, but a significant amount of jobs are created by small business owners. Someone who has sacrificed their own career to start a business, to provide value, whether that be a cup of coffee in the morning, or whether that be, a pair of shoes that you buy, whether that be an accountant providing their service. They've sacrificed their career, they've started and created value, and in that value, they've hired other people, they've given someone a job, okay? And then finally, they're creating a community culture. So for example, when you walk into your local cafe in the morning and you're tired, you've just woken up, whatever, and then the barista remembers your name, remembers your order, has a small conversation with you, starts your day, lights up your day. When you go to that restaurant that you love, and maybe it's a cultural restaurant, you go there, you feel like you're in that culture for that hour, 2 hours. That's what a small business does to a community. When that small business sponsors a local football team, when that small business sponsors the Bunnings fundraiser or something like that, that's why I really think small business is a backbone of our community. It's what they do for the community, in my opinion, is understated, because there's this weird phenomenon that nowadays, like if you own a business, you're greedy, you're a capitalist, you're rich, we should tax you, da 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 da. But no one sees the other side of the sacrifice, the long hours, the hard yards, the value you provide, the community you provide. No one sees that. Not as many people see that in today's society, but that's why I believe it's a part of the community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a great point. And so how do you, as a Christian, work in this sort of field? What do you find the biggest challenges and the biggest positives of being a Christian in the accounting field?
So that's a great question, because tax is one of those areas where everyone's a Christian until it comes to their tax return. And it's very, there's a verse actually that comes to mind that says, when they ask Jesus about, who, they ask him, should we pay our taxes? And then he gets a coin and he says, whose face is on that coin? And they say Caesar. And he says, okay, so render unto Caesar what's due unto Caesar. Our Christian faith revolves around, as long as the government is not taking away your religious rights, you submit to the government. They are lawmakers that God has appointed through the people. God has appointed them. So you really have to submit to the law. So I try to maintain a high level of integrity, as it is, to the best of my ability, to the best of what I can discern, I would like to operate with the highest level of integrity. And I think any Christian in any service has to operate like that. I think we have to operate to the highest standard possible. That's number one. And then number two, I just think it's about having the best relationship I can with my clients, and just showing, characteristics of Christianity within everything you do. So like whether it's, a lot of, like, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of accountants out there.
Yeah.
Am I technically more proficient? Maybe I am technically more proficient. It depends who you're asking. There's probably some better accountants. There's probably some worse accountants. But why do people come to me? People come to me because when they call me, I'm with them. We're going through their problem, and I want to give them everything I can and just put them first, which is a characteristic I think that defines Christianity, is putting someone else before yourself. So yeah, I think it's two things. One, just operating to the highest standard, whether it's a legal aspect or whatever you do. And then two, having relationships that reflect Christian values, I think is very important as well.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more in that. I think the thing about Christianity, for some reason, somewhere down the line, I don't know where it was, but somewhere down the line, it became hard to be a Christian. It became a difficult choice to prove to someone, hey, I'm a Christian. But I think I see it in our generation a lot, is that we're trying to change that, in that we're just trying to make it part of our life. It's trying to be normalized. Somewhere down the line, it was no longer a normal thing. It was no longer normalized, and we lost our way.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And it was like, it was something you had to hide, or that you didn't. Yeah, 100%. But what is Christianity? Christianity is an event that happened. Like it's a series of events. Like the world was created, we needed Christ, Christ died for us, and all our focus as Christians is that specific event. Like, and then it's our role to demonstrate that event, and show characteristics of that event to the world. It's very simple. I think we overcomplicate Christianity sometimes as well.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Because a Christian is meant to be a follower of Christ. That is the root meaning of the word. Once Christ has changed your life through salvation and his death on the cross, it's your job to emulate what it means to be a follower of him.
100%. Yeah.
It's that simple.
I totally agree.
But we became shy, we became nervous about it, and we thought that it was an offensive thing to be a Christian.
100%.
I was having a conversation with someone today where it's like, I want to see more Christians in business. I want to see more Christians out there. Like, I want to know who they are.
Totally agree.
And I think that's our responsibility. And it's good to see that that's happening in the small business world, where you are, I guess.
100%.
One thing I did want to get into with you is this whole COVID situation. Now, I don't want to get into the whole politics of it and should we be in lockdown, should we be in lockdown, all that rubbish. But what I want to ask is, you as an accountant, what are your thoughts of its effect on people and people in business?
Yeah, crazy. And yeah, just insane. And it's very difficult in that there's two, ScoMo always talks about this, and I feel like the treasurer Frydenberg really understands this. There's two impacts of COVID, health impact, but there's also an economic impact.
Yeah.
And it's quick, people are quick to say, we should put our health first, and health is all that matters. And even to save one life, we should spend endless amounts of money and whatever. But the reality is, without a strong, vibrant economy, without people employing others, without goods and services moving throughout your society, you have no society. Someone has to pay the medical bills. Someone has to pay that to keep someone in a job. And so we need to balance both worlds. And at the start, I think we did a good job of, especially Gladys even did a really good job of trying to keep the business world open, trying to keep the economy open. But of late, it's been, crushing. How can you, let's say a business turns over $1 million a year, on a normal basis, and then you have a COVID, and your expenses don't go down. Your expenses, a lot of them remain. You've still got to pay your landlord. You can negotiate with all of these, but it's inevitable. You still got to pay your rent. Your staff are still got to get paid. Your overheads are still getting paid. All your suppliers are still getting paid, and this affects the whole supply chain. So, in some, like, the impact has been off the charts. I've never seen anything like it. I probably will see nothing like it in future. It's extremely detrimental, but let's hope it's all over soon. The government has done a job, you know, in providing us with stimulus, but at the end of the day, you can't keep printing money. You need to turn the economy on. You need to get people out there employed, spending money and living their life and feeding their family and providing for their community. Like, so it's been very detrimental. Everyone felt it, and I can't. It's very difficult to explain. It's easy for me to sit behind a laptop, punch in numbers, and my job is relatively unaffected. I can't imagine what a business is going through there on the grassroots, telling their employees to go get Centrelink, and you know, there's people earning a lot of money that are no longer earning a lot of money and are in Centrelink queues.
Yeah,
it's nuts. So
yeah, and the crazy part for me, seeing that impact. I mean, thank God I still have a job. I'm still fine.
For sure.
But I can't imagine what another business is going through, or what a barber's going through, a hairdresser.
Exactly.
You haven't been working for 3 months.
100%. And
yeah,
and these are productive people. Like, all humans, we're designed to be very productive people. We're hunter-gatherers at heart. Like, and so it's not just the financial impact, it's taking away someone's ability to go out and to provide and to feed and to provide value and to collaborate, and it's all those things. How bored do you feel? Like, after one day of not working, you're like, okay, I've got to get back to work. You know, we all think we want an extended holiday, and then we get the extended holiday. We realize we really don't want it. It's in our nature to work. So that's what it also takes away, which is hard.
Which is what hits into that mental health side of things. Stat and I talk about it every week on Have a Chat about how the mental effects of this, it's killing people.
Yeah, totally agree.
And that's why the numbers for suicide are so high. That's why the calls to Headspace and Beyond Blue are so extravagant right now. And that's because people are losing their will to, work and live. They can't.
100%.
They can't do what they're meant to do. But on a grander scheme, a grander level, I think everyone understands the personal effects that it's having on them and their families. How does Australia get out of this? How do we, in a year's time, 2 years' time, like, what's the effects post-COVID?
So, look, coming into COVID, Australia was pretty healthy from a financial perspective. Yeah, there's something you have to understand about Australia. We're very naturally endowed, so we have like a really good, reserves of minerals and things we can sell off to other countries. We have a small population of 27 million for the land mass we have. That's ridiculously small, and we push out $1 trillion in GDP. So we came in really, really strong, and we were, our budget. I'm sure you saw the Back in Black from, Frydenberg and our Prime Minister. We came into COVID looking really strong. So when COVID happened, we could, turn on the printers a little bit, get some money out to people that needed it. And we got through up until now. Yes, it's been horrendous, but we've always bounced back really, really well. So whilst we've taken a hit now we're in more debt than we've ever been, and that will flow onto our future generation. Someone has to pay that debt, and you can either pay that through taxes or inflation, right? Someone has to pay the money we just printed. But hopefully, we're really hoping that when things open up again and it goes back to normal, people are cashed up, like people have money. The government have been handing out money. It would have been detrimental if someone sitting at home with no money, obviously not going to spend it. But the government's been handing out money, and when government money comes out, government money is easier to spend than your own hard-earned money, let me tell you. Yeah. So hopefully what we're hoping for, and we saw this in the first lockdown, is that when we open up, we have that V-shaped sort of recovery we all talk about, and we get through, and eventually, hopefully, we pay off the debt and we come out well. Australia hasn't been too bad. A lot of other countries have done a lot worse, but time will tell. Hopefully, we get a V-shaped recovery. And then 2, we have a stable period where we can start to repay our debt that we wrapped up during.
I just think that's part of the conversation that people aren't really having or talking about. And this isn't downplaying or downgrading the importance of people's health and what people are going through with this disease. This disease is tough. It's tough to have. It's not an easy one to get through. But there is another side of it that a lot of people aren't considering. You know, it's so easy to tell people stay at home, don't do anything.
Yeah.
What effect does that have on not just us, but the future generations?
100%. And a lot of people think like Australia is this rich utopia and we'll never run out of money and everything like that. But I can assure you, if you look at Venezuela, if you look at Cuba, there are countries that overdo their spending. There is no country that's ever survived by sitting down and paying its citizens to do absolutely nothing. The best societies function when people are creating, when they're innovating, when they're working hard, when they're providing for their families. Everyone's winning, everyone's happy. You have a good, functioning, healthy society. It's beautiful. There's nothing like that. And the sooner we get back to that, the better it is. We can't just keep printing money and paying people to stay at home. It's not possible. It heads down a horrific trail. We need to get back to business, which hopefully we will shortly.
Hopefully that does happen soon, and hopefully everyone can start living their lives again.
That's it.
Jake, COVID or not COVID, lockdown, not lockdown, you work from home at the moment, correct?
I do. Yeah, I do. I have an office that I've got the address to, and I can use it anytime. So it's a share office space that I use, but majority of the time, yeah, bro, I'm working from home.
So how, and you know what, stuff the work situation where you're working, you as a business owner and being self-employed, there's a lot in that. And I think the biggest thing that people would struggle with in your situation is the motivation to get up and work every single day for the amount of hours that you have to. It's so easy just to say, oh, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm going to go watch a movie or catch a footy game or something. How do you stay motivated in work and making sure the work's done?
There's two things that really push me. Number one is the way I look at work. And the way I look at work is, it's my obligation in front of God and in front of my family to provide for my family, first and foremost. So in the hours, like my family takes a sacrifice for the opportunity that I had to go and start a business. Let me tell you, if you want to go start a business, someone's still going to pay the mortgage, someone's still going to pay, you know, all the fees and whatnot. So someone had to make a sacrifice for you to go out and have that opportunity to start your own business. So number one, the time I'm given, it's my responsibility to perform for my family, to perform for my clients, and just as a matter of work ethic, to perform for myself. I need to know I'm using my time wisely, to be a steward almost. That's number one, having accountability to, you know, my family, my clients, and everything else. Number two, that a lot of people don't think, especially when you're employed, it's like, bro, if I don't do it, it doesn't get done, right? So if I don't, you know, do the marketing, if I don't do the sales, if I don't do especially when you're starting out, later on it changes a little bit, but if I don't do the work, it doesn't get out. My clients aren't happy. I don't get paid. My family doesn't get fed. So it's very simple. If you can not do the work, that's fine. You're not going to get paid, and you're going to hate your life.
Consequences down the track.
Exactly, and there's consequences down the track. And so, yeah, what keeps me motivated is that it's inevitable. It has to get done. There is no other option. And B, I'm accountable to the goals I set, to my family, to my clients, and everything like that. So I think once you have that mentality, it's either sink or swim.
Yeah. People work a lot different now to what they did 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. I mean, we're all in front of our computers. We're all working at our own pace. The stock standard 9 to 5 is drifting away. It's not really a thing as much as it used to be. What do you do that's different? I mean, do you listen to music? Do you watch TV? Like, what's your thing while you're working? Like for me, I love having just white noise in the background. So I'll chuck on a TV show that I've watched 20 times just to have something there as I'm smacking away. What's your thing?
It all changes, but generally it needs to be pretty quiet, just me and a couple of computers. I get sometimes immersed in my work. When I'm immersed in my work, I don't want anything else around me.
Nice.
When I'm creative though, like when I have to come up with a piece of copy or marketing or something like that, I like going to a cafe, having that noise around, being in an open space, having some fresh air, that gets the juices flowing from a creative aspect.
Yeah.
But generally, from a work aspect, dead silence, and I just want to, get at it.
That's funny. It's funny how different we are, because work aspect, I need that dead noise in the background.
Yeah.
If I'm getting creative, if I'm writing something or I'm prepping a new kids show or whatever it is, I need music in the background. I need something running that I can sort of, sounds weird, but sing along to, but then out of nowhere, get up out of my seat and just start talking my way through it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I feel like it's a soundtrack to my life, just happening back there, just like in a movie.
That's gold. No, I love that.
I love the fact that people can work differently now, and it's not a detriment to their career. It's not a detriment to what they're doing.
100%.
You've seen a lot of small businesses start. You've seen a lot of small businesses get out and start working. What's your piece of advice to anyone that's starting their own business, or what's the biggest struggle that they're facing at the moment? COVID aside.
Yeah, probably two. I think a lot of people start businesses without fully understanding the level of commitment that goes into it. What you have to remember is you're in a competitive environment. So if you think that you're going to start a business, and everyone works with with the time they have. So as long as you're productive in the time you have, you're competing. But if you have 8 hours in the day and you decide that, I'm just going to do it, for an hour and then I'll go watch a show for the rest of it and whatever. There are people out there competing against you that are working 24/7, 100% of the time, very dedicated. That's the level that it takes, essentially. So I think, number one, a lot of people get into it without knowing the level of commitment it really takes to really understand the market, to really deliver a good product, to really figure out who your market is, what distribution channels you want to use, how to manage your numbers. There's a ton that goes into it. So number one, level of commitment. I think people have commitment issues as it is, let alone commitment issues to their business. Always coming up with a new idea and a new idea here, but not willing to commit a year, 2, 3 years to one idea, just going at it. So it takes, and that's probably another one in the commitment piece. It doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens nothing good worth happening takes overnight.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you decide I want to start a business, it's a minimum 2 to 3 year process. Minimum.
A long haul.
You've got to be in it for the long haul. And along the way, you're changing, you're discovering new things and whatever. So commitment, number one. And number two is, I think, the overnight success element of it is that people think it's an overnight success. People don't see the hard yards that go into it. People see, for example, I don't know, I'll pick one out, like cake mail. There's a lot of cake mail on Instagram. I think you've probably seen it. Some people would look at that and say, oh, that's such a simple product. How didn't I think of that? Whatever. You don't know what that person went through, the amount of businesses they started before that one, the failures they've seen before that, the hard work they went into distributions, creating the product, paying influencers and getting their brand out there. You don't see that side. You only see the 50K followers. They're making loads of sales and whatever. Life looks good. But I think just, a lot of people don't see that hard work. And pretty much thinking about business in the sense of what business is providing value in exchange for money, which is just an exchange of value. So having value to offer the marketplace and tweaking around the marketplace. So just understanding that all your business is an exchange of value. The higher value you can create for your customer, for your market, the better you will do. You know what I mean? So I think, I'm trying to come up with an analogy, but essentially just thinking about your customer. What is my customer wanting? How can I deliver more value to them? How can I make their life easier? How can I improve my product? That's what good businesses do. So being value driven, how do I give them the best experience possible? How do I give them, when they pay me $100, $150 to do their tax return, how do I make it feel like the best experience they'll ever have?
Can I tell you that is very, very similar to how a teacher thinks.
Yeah, could imagine.
When the teacher is thinking about their students, their sole thought is, how do I get into their head so I know that what I'm giving them is going to stick?
Correct.
And it's the same thing in business.
100%.
Business owners are basically teachers. Get into your clients' heads, figure out what's going to make them happy, and keep it there.
Exactly. That's what's beautiful about business. It's even like what you do, by the way, as well. How can I, like, the kids KBB? How can I give the kids the best experience possible? What is going to light up their day? What is going to help them understand what I'm trying to say in the best manner? So I think you get that, definitely.
Is there a specific personality type that you need to have to be in business, to start a small business?
There's no specific you need, but I'll tell you what's common. What's common is relentless, like really obsessed with with their work or what they do. Yep. And and to normal people, you'll think, what another? Like, that's too much. But the people who are really obsessed with their craft will generally do really well.
It's a high.
It's a high, and it's just drive. Like, sometimes passion will get you halfway there, but you need to keep that drive going. The energy is another one. High energy, really go people, very good at business. What else? A little bit weird, like, I'm sure we all know, a few business owners that there's a screw missing here. I think they make a great business owners. And then someone with a high level of EQ, empathy, really has charisma for their customers, understands their customers, thinks strategically about what they're doing and things like that. So high level of EQ, I think, is very important in business, for sure.
That's very interesting. It's interesting to look at that side of a business rather than, I mean, everyone sees the outskirts of it. They see the outside, they see the pretty pictures, they see the great graphics, but to really dig into a business owner's head and to see what got them to that level, it takes a lot.
Yeah,
even doing something as small or as basic as this podcast channel,
100%
work in the background. And like you said, it is a grind. There are a lot of weeks where you're thinking to yourself, why bother?
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
100%.
But I think it's finding the thing that you're passionate about the most that will make you say, okay, this week doesn't really bother me because I know next week's going to be better, or I'm going to do this to make next week better.
100%. And it's about you. Like, in the process, it's all about those 1% incremental improvements. And when people, you'll have this, right? People will see you after you've produced 100 episodes, or after you've hit X amount of subscribers, or after you've hit X amount of views. They'll look at your product and go, oh, that's a great product. And some of them might even go, oh, that's a great product, I should have done that. As if there was not 100 episodes before that with X amount of little improvements. And when you look at it, you would say, I cannot believe I even got away with that first one. And it's 100% better. They won't see that, but you will. And that's that in itself is, just improving 1% every day, having that final product that people might see and think, yeah, great. But there was a lot of hard work in between, and anyone else who's gone down that journey respects it as well.
And I think I like that, what you said before about having that resilience factor.
Yeah.
Because we live in a society where it's very easy just to downplay whatever someone's doing. They've opened up a new business. Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Good luck. It's going to fall.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's a very big thing out there. Like, you see another Instagram account come up. It's another dessert, or it's another service. It's another thing. And it's like, okay, whatever. But to be able to to not think about those people, think about what's going on or what's coming out of their mouths, and to be able to drive through that is vital, I reckon.
100%.
And so much more in a business where you have to employ employees and you have to have more and more, because you're really putting yourself out there. I think business is very much like acting or anything in the creative field, in that you're really saying, hey, judge me.
It's true. 100% true. You're 100%. And you have to, especially now, like, I mean, before you could sort of be on the down low and doing stuff, but right now, like, if you want to grow, you have to be out there. People have to know about your product or service. There's never been a better time, by the way, for people to know about you at scale. We've never had social media. We've never had that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's going to be a ton of haters. There's going to be a ton of people, especially in Australia. We have a culture of, oh, they started a business, that'll fold soon. Like in America, the dream is I want to start a business and I want to make my biggest dreams a reality.
But
in Australia, it's like,
yeah,
what you think you're better than me, da, 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 and then it's like, just go get a job. Like, it's weird. Literally, or go be a tradie, or go do this. But anyway, but yeah, so when everyone starts, a business, I highly recommend getting behind it, understanding that it's a tough road ahead for them. And if they do succeed, great. If they don't succeed and they fail, they're better for the journey anyway. I respect someone who started a business and failed a lot more than I respect the criticism of someone who says, I told you you're going to fail, or I told you you're going to do this. Like, that means a zero to society, in my opinion.
How do you balance work, your relationship with your family and your wife, and your Christian relationship with God?
Yeah.
How do you balance the three?
I think this is the hardest thing to do, if I'm honest. Especially I'm not great at multitasking. I'm only good at that, but I'm very driven off. If I have this in my mind, I almost put the blinkers on to everything else. So it's a constant challenge. And it's a challenge where at times you will get it right, at times you will get it wrong. Sometimes I spend too much time in one area and not enough time in another area, but it's a constant pivot. And I think this year was the first year where I usually set yearly goals, and I only ever think about business goals, or just progressing goals. It's for some reason all I ever think about. But I came up with a life goals, and in there was like family life, spiritual life, financial and business life, and then personal life, like, whether I want to develop my body, whether I want to develop me personally, professionally, or whatever. And I think having quadrants of understanding that each quadrant has its own little goals that you're trying to achieve, I think really, really helped. So, for example, one of my Christian goals was I wanted to read the New Testament. So I incorporated that into, and I don't agree with the philosophy of, we'll do our 9 to 5, we'll work 9 to 5, we'll stop work at 5 o'clock, we'll have dinner with our family, and then we'll go to church or something like that, right? Like a typical sort of day. Or like that's a Friday night, for example. I'm more of the philosophy of incorporating things into your overall life. For example, you know how you were saying earlier, like, there's no more 9 to 5. Yeah. I don't mind that. I don't mind spending a morning, maybe like this afternoon, I went on a bike ride with my wife. I will happily sometimes do that in my work day and then work at night. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, or take a morning off to, you can't do anything now, but I'm talking in a realistic, in a broader scale, or going to a ministry at this time of the day and then working around it, or fitting in family life, around that. I think it's all just one salad of life. I don't compartment, I think, life. I think it's all just one thing that you need to incorporate. And there's times my business is more important, honestly. There's times my business is more important because there's a key project I'm working on and I need to deliver. It has to be done. There's times my family is much more important. God is always the most important, but
it's prioritized at certain times.
Correct, exactly. Sundays, for example, I refuse to work on Sundays. Why? Because I believe God worked 6 and rested on the 7th. So I won't do any work. I will never, in my hope, I stick to this, but I won't do work on Sundays. Why? Because I believe that's God's day. Happy to work around that to give myself the capacity to have that day off, for example.
Yeah, it's about those convictions and those priorities at the start, and then being able to move your life in the way where it accommodates to that.
Correct. Absolutely.
I'm starting to realize how much you and I think alike, mate, because I do the separation of all 4 parts of my life as well.
Do you?
I did that earlier this year, trying to
see. How good.
Right. I'm just seeing what goals I wanted to hit in each part of that life zone.
Yeah.
There was one thing I said that this year I wanted to see my family more. Hasn't happened because of COVID, but so I put in a lot more effort in making sure I visited my parents. I called them more,
100%.
I texted them more. I wanted to get my body in a proper shape after 2 years of it not being in shape. So
Of what, Ray? What?
oh, mate. Finally being able to, one of the goals, going to sound very funny, but it was 12 months of no hospital. I didn't want to see a hospital for 12 months.
Only you would have that goal, mate.
Mate, we're 3 weeks away. So listen.
Maybe don't drive for the next, maybe just sit put for the next 3 months and there you go.
I wish that would help me out, but mate, walking up the stairs, I broke my leg. I went to the hospital. You know what I'm saying?
This is outrageous. This is outrageous.
But yeah, I think it is important to do that. I think it is important to take a look at your life and sort of examine it and see, okay, I need to work on this. I need to be more productive in this light. I haven't been seeing these people enough. I haven't been spending enough time with God, and tweaking. It's exactly what we said at the start of the show. It was have your long-term goal, but find the tweaks you need to make. And I think that's so important. Not just for business, but for you as a person to know. I think it takes, you get to a point where you need to understand you are not perfect. There's no part of you that is perfect. So you need to start looking at yourself and say, okay, this is my weak spot. Let's start tweaking.
100%. And it's progression over perfection. Like if we were perfect, we would be Christ. We wouldn't need a Christ who died for us.
That's right.
And it's, once you accept, by the way, that you're not perfect, it's so much easier to progress because you know it's an endless quest of just being better, just every day, just being better, just being a better Christian every single day, just getting closer to God, that little step every single day, just getting better at your job, 1% on each day, reading a little bit more every single day, 100%. Like that's what I believe, you know, anything is about, just getting a little bit better every day and heading towards the end line, the finish.
That's it. So Jake, before we wrap this thing up, mate, this has been awesome. 10 years ago, we give you that DeLorean, we send you back 10 years.
Yeah.
Talk to Jake. What are you telling him? What's your piece of advice to him? What's the one thing that you think he needs to go through the next 10?
How old was I? I'm 29, I just turned 29, so I'm 19, a fresh young kid.
Uni.
That's a great question. What would I say to 19-year-old Jacob? I would say enjoy it a bit more. And I would say I would hand him that book that I recommended to you earlier. I would hand him the book of Stop Worrying and Start Living. I don't know why I'm always thinking about, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I'm always thinking about 10 years down the road, right? And there's so much that you can think about that is wrong with our world, and it takes up a lot of your brain space. But when you forget about 10 years and just enjoy the moment and then just enjoy what you're doing, sometimes I'm always just driven to the next thing and you forget to enjoy the process of the way there. And I think that's the advice I would give to him. Enjoy the journey, man. Like, bro, chill out. Like, enjoy the process, enjoy your life, enjoy your friendships, enjoy your family, enjoy your church, enjoy your work. Just enjoy it. Just relax, enjoy it. You'll get there. It's fine. You're going to be okay. That would be my advice.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. And I didn't learn that lesson until the car accident, to be completely honest. Prior to that, it was like, okay, 10 years, Ray needs this, he needs this, he needs that. But then it was just like, no, sit back, enjoy the point of life that God's got you in.
100%.
And do what you can in that part of it. Stop thinking about the past, stop thinking about the future, start thinking about that present. Mate, it's been awesome having you on. Where can the people find you? Where can they find you online if they want to get in contact with you?
Pretty much Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't use Facebook. I got to get rid of Facebook. I don't use it. So Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find me there. Just Google my name. I'm sure LinkedIn algorithms will push me up. Advisory Corp Accountants on Instagram. Jacob Fahmy everywhere else. But thank you, by the way, Ray, for having me on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I am a massive, massive fan of this podcast. I can't speak highly enough of it. And I can't wait to see where this has you, in the coming next few years. And I've got, high hopes for this. and I appreciate all the work you do.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. We appreciate you jumping on. Ladies and gents, we'll have all those links in the description below. Make sure you follow him. His TikToks are actually pretty funny. I will admit that. Ladies and gents, you can find me at Ray Haddad97. Make sure you like the channel, subscribe to it, like the video, share it around. Let us know who you want to have on Talk to Me next. Jake, thanks for jumping on, mate. Thanks for talking to me.
Thanks for having me, bro. Really appreciate it.